Hey everybody, this is Dust for Dusted on Gaming with a little bit of a working on the Bolas series a little bit tonight. Got a couple other decks to get to in the next over the next day or so. We've got a infinite Jeskai combo deck from the Foz. We have Foz's updated Black Red Burn list. Some other couple standard decks I need to get back to that I promised people would play again. Basically, this is neither Space Marines list nor Foz's direct list. This is a list that went 5-0. I made some slight alterations to try to fit a couple Nicol Boluses in the main deck. The deck's a little bit 4-drop heavy. I'm seeing in the couple games I already tested with the deck that might be a little bit of a problem. The original deck was a 5-0 list that had like 4 copies of Electrolyze, 1 Cool Guns Command in the main deck, and had the 4 Snapcaster Mage, 2 Jace the Mind Sculptor, and Cruel Ultimatum as kind of your win cons, along with the Creeping Tar Pits. One thing I do like about this list is think twice to be able to play a little bit more at a instant speed. The one game I did win involved flipping Nicol Bolas. We played against a couple of weird decks, so I don't know how much information that testing actually showed me, but gave me a feel for the deck a little bit, so gotta play my list. The best version in standard. We'll get there, Space Marine. If you want to send me a list, it's going to be a little while, though. I got like 5 or 6 decks to get to over the next couple days. So, got this list. I've got a Jeskai, Feldar Guardian, Saheeli Rai, Restoration Angel, Kiki Jiki control deck to get to from the Foz. I have the Foz's updated burn deck list to get to. We have to continue working on this. I told people I'd go back and replay the mono green aggro deck. I've got to play that. So it'll be a little bit before I can probably get to that list. But yeah, going to jump into a couple of games with this deck. It's a really rough list, and honestly, I kind of suck at these kind of mid-range control decks, so this is going to be quite entertaining. So how are you doing, Space Marine? How's your weekend going? See how this does. Well, this is a rough hand. We're going to have to mulligan this one. This hand isn't any better. Alright, we're off to a roaring start here on camera. Keep a fetch land on top. Nice. So well, that's good. I like the idea of Cruel Ultimatum, but I honestly think Modern might be a little bit too fast for the card now, though. But adding Bolas to this version of the deck was not a good idea. I've already played a couple matches with it, and it was very, very rough. So, see what our opponent does here. Played against a weird smallpox Life from Malone zombie list, which was pretty entertaining. Please don't be another smallpox deck. Oh, Mill. Fantastic. Yeah. Mono Black Mill? Are they just having a really, really horrible draw here? Yeah. Ironically, the Cruel Ultimatum list did go 5-0. So, I mean, and it's definitely an acquired taste. Not really sure what our... I guess they're on Blue-Black Mill. They're just having a really horrible land draw. Never mind, they have Pluto Delta. Don't think we're well equipped to try to fight a Mine Funeral. You know what? I just I'm not interested in playing against Mill. Nope, I'm good. I don't mind playing against Brews, but I'm just Mill with slow decks, and yeah, I'm just not interested in playing against that kind of strategy in a matchup where I know I don't have the pressure to win. So I'm just going to move on with testing and try to play something potentially reasonable. Okay. I mean, humans is a real deck, so we will definitely... Our counter spells are going to be pretty terrible this matchup, but I think we're in the market for another land here. We do need... we do need some more interaction, but... Dauntless Bodyguard. Interesting addition to the humans deck. I guess it makes sense, though. The humans deck doesn't really have a lot of one-mana creatures. Alright. Dauntless Bodyguard's protecting Dauntless Bodyguard. It's an interesting trick. I'm just going to put this in play tapped. Casting twice. We're going to take a hit for at least 4 here. Alright, so it looks like we're not up against full-powered humans, per se. But I guess we'll see what they play. Looks like mono-white humans, which could be an interesting matchup. So we'll see what they reveal. Thalier's Luton's going to be a little rough. Well, I guess I kind of have to slam Bolas next turn, huh? Since my opponent can... Or I can just hold up Electrolyze in response. That seems like it might be a better use of my resources. I guess technically this is only getting one of them, but we gotta do what we gotta do. Sack one to prevent the other one from dying. Yep. Inspector. Alright, let's move on to post-board games. This deck's a lot rougher around the edges. Who am I kidding? Alright, so we got a couple of Statcasters, a Fatal Push, and a couple copies of Coolgun's Command. And then the cards we want to get out of here, these Logic Knots are kind of nonsense. And Counterflux. Maybe one copy of Cryptic Command. Makes sense. Cryptic Command or Cruel Ultimatum in here. think Cruel Ultimatum might be a little too slow in this matchup. But, yeah, there's a couple different flaws with this build. There's no real true sweepers. There's no, no really good early pressure. So Bolas doesn't make a ton of sense in this deck. A couple Think Twices and some Terminates. It's pretty good. Steam Vents tapped. Yep. Let's have the champion every game. See what they play here. It's possible they only have a couple of copies of... Huh. Does make me wonder... Thalia. Well, we're going to be casting a Think Twice here, so... Thalia is going to get in for a bit of damage. Long story short, my other mic stopped working, so it's not picking up. For some reason, my regular microphone isn't picking up any sound, so I had to go back to playing using my cell phone mic, pretty much. I can speak louder, does that help? I just don't want to blow people's eardrums out. Electrolyze, huh? Opponent does have a lot of cards in hand, which kind of sucks. Soldier of the Pantheon, ironically, is one of the better cards they could have in this matchup. I guess they just don't know it. You gonna name Electrolyze again? Yeah? Must really be afraid of that card. It's ironic, since I think I'm only running 2 in this list? I think there's a good chance they have another Thalia in hand, so I'm not really too worried about Thalia right now. It's annoying, but it's not really taxing my ability to play spells right now. So how's everyone doing tonight? Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Yep, there looks like there's blue-white humans, which is interesting. Alright, there's a Thalia's lieutenant. They play a spell before combat. Counter target spell. So I'll be taking, what, 4 this turn? Yeah, I'm fine with that. A Snapcaster Mage, which can target Kolaghan's command, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, or I can do Cryptic Command, I suppose. This is where this deck, I think, starts to shine. Knight of the White Orchid, huh? So, question is, does my opponent have something like... I guess if they have Path to Exile here, it really doesn't matter. So I can... yeah, just let this resolve. Let them get a land, that's fine. Thalya's Lieutenant, on the other hand. Don't think I can let that one resolve. The command. Counter target spell, tap all. Lightning Bolt's not a bad one here. Presume we're just going to take out Thalia or something here. Alright, so... Militia, Bugler. Take care of that. Cast this thing twice. Let Bugler resolve. Kill this guy. Another Snapcaster Mage. That's what the Bugler gets. Blue-Eye Humans, huh? Another Militia Bugler. One, two, three, four, five. This is going to be an interesting turn. Yep. Bugler into another Bugler. Into Thalia. Alright. Presuming here comes Thalia. Oh, Lieutenant. Kologon's command. Turn target creature, deal 2 damage to any target. Turn that, shock that. So we know Thalia is their last card in hand. Jace the Mind Sculptor. Alright. Putting those ones back kind of sucks, but... Yeah, I have a friend who plays that as his modern deck of choice. So we're going to get 2 for 1 here. Basic Mountain. 1 and 1. This is why our opponent was so afraid of the card Electrolyze. Even though we only have a few of them. Alright. Alright, so do we need to reevaluate counter spells? Our opponent didn't show us any Cavern of Souls that game and only showed us one the game before. I don't think so. The question is like a Vendilion Click better than some of this other nonsense? Like a Cruel Ultimatum or a Cryptic Command? I don't think so. And our opponent still hasn't seen Bolas, which is entertaining. Wow, this hand is very awkward and very slow. Against the humans, keeping 7. I think I have to mulligan. This hand also isn't great, but it does have... What red sources do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have 14 red sources. I think we keep and hope to scry a red source to the top here. That's at the bottom. Yep. I think we might go... What? Alright. Not sure why they shocked in on 1 here. Guessing that was a mistap. Sure. Our problem isn't the fact that you have Thalia, our problem is the fact that we have no red mana. What you do here. See our opponent's meddling mage names here. Probably Electrolyze again. Fatal Push. Alright. Silly, silly opponent. Thalia's Lieutenant here, huh? Thalia's Lieutenant resolve. Hopefully I don't have another one here. Of course they do. Fatal Push. Gotta shock this in. That's a pain in the hind end. Alright, so, So I can bolt this. Opponent definitely has... Guess unfortunately we have to let this resolve. Bolt that. Push this. Taking a lot of damage this turn. Outside of Cryptic Command, I don't know that we have anything that actually gets us out of this situation. Alright, well that buys us a turn. Counter target spell. Tap all creatures your opponent controls. It's an interesting one. So, fortunately, we don't have enough to keep us alive here. All right. Go ahead and fire up another match here. So, I don't know if it's just the spell balance of this deck, or I don't play these style of decks well, but these Snapcaster control decks trying to... Yep, that's Mulligan. Keep this one. Bottom that. Looking for red sources here. Leads on Serum Visions. Snapcaster Mage is not exactly the card we were looking for. Storm or Ad Nauseam? Feels like Storm or Ad Nauseam. A little less sure about what's going on. Maybe Just Guy? Or maybe Thing Ascension. I'm just trying to guess here. To be fair, all cantrips in Modern are bad cards. Am I getting my face bolted? Oh, this feels like Thing Ascension, or it could still be Storm, I guess. Though kind of weird for Storm to have oh, it's Thing in the Ice. Alright. Yep, it was Thing Ascension. Interesting. Wonder what the purpose of the Alright, so right, can't grab a So what are the odds that our opponent can probably not the best play, but we don't actually have any way to kill that thing in the ice right now, so let's just get Bolas down here. Bedlam Reveler. They do very different things, Space Marine. Telling time is card selection, think twice is card advantage. I think our opponent's going to be able to flip their thing in the ice here, which is unfortunate. Oh yeah, we are definitely flipping the thing in the ice this turn. The question is do they have like a team or battle rage or something to kill us here? Ascension's annoying. Maybe I should have more actively dug for an answer to this thing. Like I said, they do vastly different things. Telling time is still card selection, it's not card advantage. Think twice is card advantage, but it's less mana efficient. So a lot of it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Probably want these Vendilion clicks. These cruel ultimatums are kind of garbage. Might want Cool Gun's commands, but they're not really great. Need to be able to kill. Probably want these spell bombs. It's possible we want Thoughtseize with our opponent having. Question is then what are we? This Thoughtseize might be just too cute. Cut one cryptic command because it's less mana efficient. And counter squalls, cut another cryptic. And shave. Lightning bolts don't really kill what we want them to. 1k command. In some situations, in some decks. Not all decks are interested in card quality over card advantage. Like this deck is more interested in raw card quantity rather than I don't know. The only true good cantrip in Modern for any of the control decks is probably anything 3 mana or more. Like Think Twice isn't great, Telling Time isn't great, Peer Through Depths and whatnot, you know, they're all. Let's see if our opponent has some type of. counterspell of their own to play here. Yeah, but they don't want those cards in the format. So no, the problem is they made Storm too consistent. The problem is for every, as much as they would help the control decks, they made the am I supposed to slam Bolas here or hold up? The best cantrip in Modern for control is either probably Esper Charm or something like Glimmer of Genius or something along those lines. Does our opponent have a Path to Exile here? They do not. Alright. Let's see what our opponent can resolve in this. So our opponent slammed their first two threats. Now that we see a Young Pyromancer, we're going to have to bring in some type of answer to that. Sure. Kind of funny that our opponent even has Path to Exile on their deck right now. Let's get the thing twice on top. Where we can hold up Cryptic Command and still don't care about your Faithless Lootings. The problem with things like Ponder and Preordain is they turn things into homogenized decks like what happens in Legacy when you have Brainstorm, Ponder, Preordain, etc. all at your disposal. Modern is a fast and brutal format, but it doesn't have the protection of something like Force of Will. So without that, Wizards has kind of hit the consistency cards more than the problem cards, which is both a blessing and a curse. Alright, so our opponent, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess we pass one more turn. Hopefully we can hit an 8th land and protect this Jace. Because we can't really fight over this Jace effectively, unfortunately. And our opponent already killed one of our... Do I have... Oh, I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm just saying they have their reasons for banning the cantrips in particular. Alright, so we draw an island. It's both a blessing and a curse here. I wish I had something like a Vendilion Click to kind of clear out some of what's going on here. Because our opponent's sitting on 4 cards, and I don't know what any of them are. Like, I don't want to just slam this Jace into 4 open mana against a deck that could be packing things like Negate, etc. Alright, Vendilion Click. Yeah, I'm going to be working on learning Control in Modern myself because I have a standard deck that I want to port to Modern. So I'm going to have to kind of learn the ins and outs of Modern Control. So part of the reason I'm messing with these Bolas decks is that, and part of it is I want the card Nicol Bolas to succeed in Modern. If our opponent has like a counter spell for this. Because this is going to mess with their This is the kind of card that I was waiting on here to try to resolve Jace. Okay, I don't care if you bolt my click. Alright, so we have Blood Moon, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Helix, Manamorphose, and Negate. Alright, so you're saying basically anything I play here is dead. You have to be familiar with the environment in which you're playing. Do I just leave them with this hand and slam Jace and make them use like 3 resources to try to fight this card? The only card that kind of scares me is Blood Moon. But I don't know if they can actually use the Blood Moon right now. Yeah, I was thinking if I take anything, it would be Negate here. But they get basically 2 redraws to try to hit something here. So, because they have the draw off the click. Well, that's a nice one. So if my opponent managed to draw a Negate, that would probably force the issue. So I guess I use this as a 4-mana brainstorm, or just go ahead plus it on them. This way they'll need. No, you can have a land. I don't really care about them having a land right now. Yep. What on earth? Is this just cycling the Manamorphose? Okay, sure. It is a Esper Nexus of Fate deck by Alian Tarazi. It's kind of like a combination of Esper Control with Nexus of Fate. Nexus of Fate is the instant speed. It's the instant speed. Wow, those are some good cards. I think I get rid of Think Twice and Cryptic Command? Question mark. Snapcaster Mage for this turn cycle. Don't care if Jace takes a hit for 1 here. It's a 7-mana instant speed take a turn card, and no matter how it goes to the graveyard, or how it would go to the graveyard, it goes back into your library instead. So if you discard it, it goes and immediately shuffles into your deck. If you cast it, it immediately goes to your deck. If you cast it and gets countered, it immediately gets shuffled into your deck. Basically, the deck tries to take advantage of Search for Azcanta, Search for Azcanta, etc. So now our opponent has... I'm going to go ahead and Spellbomb them now on the off chance they drew a Bedlam Reveler. It's a Teferi deck. Put back the opt and thing twice, I guess. Match up a basic swamp. It's a 4 Teferi 4 taking turns deck. It's one of the decks that I want to get to over the next couple days. I'm going to play the standard version of it. I personally haven't played it, but a friend of mine borrowed my base Esper deck and played it, and made top 8 of the local game shop's IQ event, and only lost to... What the heck is this? Blood Moon. Sure. Blood Moon resolves, friend. Your Blood Moon literally doesn't matter. So... Turn target creature card from graveyard to your hand. Resume he's attacking Jace here. Yeah. Turn target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Target player discards a card. Good CU isn't the main phase. Good control. Fine with this Jace taking a hit. If I played a second, or had a second Blood Moon, it's kind of whatever. See what their last card is. Sleight of hand. Nope. So our Jace can't really effectively control their draw step yet. The sleight of hand being kind of what it is. I think I'm just going to start. No? Question mark? I don't think I need another Snapcaster Mage right now. Yeah, there is no Cruel Ultimatums in our deck right now. Card's too clanky. I think having Bolas as a counter target spell. Can't even cast, what the hell, let's just terminate the damn thing. Yeah, I can imagine. Alright, well, put back a Kolaghan's Command and a Snapcaster Mage for right now. One of our mountains here. Young Pyromancer, huh? Fortunately, I think that one's going to resolve. And all you have is a land. Hmm. Get in with this Vendilion click. Field sealing our opponent. No, you can have Path to Exile. Alright, so I have no reason to make a move right now. It's kind of hilarious to be playing Blood Moon in a deck in which you're going to do. It's kind of the ye old hard lock. Yeah, let's put that one on the bottom of your library. Not that I truly care about it, but target player discards a card, deals 2 damage to any target. Boom, boom. Yeah. I already used my black mana. Never mind. Sure. Only an opt anyway. They would have been able to cycle it in response. Oh, that's rough, man. Alright, on to sideboarding. That's always rough, man. Alright, so... 2, 4, 6, 7 counter spells. Question is, do we bring in Statcasters or Electrolyzes to deal with some of their Pyromancer shenanigans should it get out of hand? I don't think Statcaster is great because they have, yeah, I can imagine. Don't think Statcaster is great, but I might want to bring in an Electrolyzer to be over a Think Twice and one of the Cool Guns commands. Especially since it's a little bit easier to play if our opponent decides to go the Blood Moon plan. Alright, so this hand at least allows me to get a blue source under a Blood Moon. So I think I'm inclined to keep it. Plus I'll turn 2 Logic Knot for all that's worth. Shock this in case we have to Fatal Push something on turn 2. Russian Sleep Experiment's a gruesome, gruesome thing. If it's what I'm thinking about, it's a gruesome, gruesome thing. Is that the one where they kept people up for as long as they could and made my skin crawl? Yeah, not a huge fan of that. That's very, very disgusting. But to each their own. See if our opponent goes for a Blood Moon. Hey, shocker. They want to go for a Blood Moon. Counter Skull that shit. It's kind of funny, as I really don't think they've shown us too many counter spells other than like negate. Still don't think I slammed this Jace the Mind Sculptor here. Oh, Jace, my friend, you are such an awkward, awkward card. Serum Visions resolved. Sleight of Hand resolved. A lot of air in our opponent's deck. What, Jace? Jace isn't really throwing your money away, per se. It's... Besides, Jace and Teferi work very well together. And you're a blue mage player, so you'll like the card. I might pick up a couple in the future myself, but personally I prefer Teferi. Of course, I'm not. I'm already going to have to drop money on... Yeah, I think they're both good. I think Teferi just is better in terms of... So do I snap Counter Squall here or Logic Knot? I think I try to snap Counter Squall here. It's possible our opponent has a negate, but negate would get us either way. Anamorphous? Must not have the negate right in hand then. I think you'd want both, honestly. Because isn't the only thing in the ice dope? Oh, you're cantripping, friend. I think I'm gonna go get a swamp. Let this... Yeah, and Teferi and the Jace Ultimate just sounds really, really dirty. Hey, I'm only really drawing one card, but since it's technically 3, you're losing 3 permanents. Sounds pretty gross. Sounds pretty gross. So I made a small sequencing error there. I should have waited to play my land until after playing this Jace. Simply because I could hit a fetch land here. And... yeah, that one can go to the bottom of your library. I'm really glad we did that. Another Pyromancer's Ascension. The card that just keeps on giving. 2, 3, 4. Wow, they've had a lot of Pyromancer's Ascensions. Sure. Really like to find a Nihil Spellbomb here. Depends on which with which deck, but yes, I've played against. Yeah. Well then, that is definitely some garbage. Didn't find any of our cards that are good here. Deck I have the most experience playing with against 8 rack is probably Burn. Really did not want to draw land there. Mendelian Clique. Get rid of Fatal Push and what? Terminate here. Lay this out. Go ahead and draw step this Mendelian Clique. Target you, see what you got. Path to Exile, huh? I think I'm going to have to let that Exile resolve. Nice of our opponent to shuffle the top of our deck, though. Helix. Right, you don't have a Helix in your graveyard right now. Yeah. And you can't kill our Jace right now, so... Actually, I should wait until I can back this up with a counterspell. Counterspell is a good one. I should probably go to town trying to keep their whatchamacallit in check here. Yeah, they have a hard time dealing with probably should put that on them. Do they have a Faithless sitting in their graveyard? They don't. Yeah, they have a really hard time dealing with resolved non-creature threats. Kind of funny, because that's actually a card they probably actively wanted. But what my opponent doesn't know won't hurt him. See what you got. Huh. Yeah, put one of those to the bottom. A really awkward spot with this active Pyromancer's Ascension. Suppose I should be actively digging for like Cryptic Command here. So if our opponent starts doubling up spells, it could get really, really ugly. Because I have spell bombs and cryptic commands. Bedlam Reveler. Let's logic not and say we didn't. 2, 3, 4, 5. Ironically, we have a really small graveyard this game. Nicol Bolas. Put back land and fatal push here. Opponent doesn't currently have red mana. Awkward for them. Ding, ding. Do. Huh. So if I do that, I can't counter if they have an instant speed spell. So I think I've got to let them go to their main phase. We finally win a match. I think we might have finally won a match. Alright, I'm going to go to combat. Do you have a Path to Exile or something? Lightning Bolt. Counter Squall. Alrighty. So, my opinion on this deck so far, Cruel Ultimatum's just too cute. I think, given the mana sink situation, that Nicol Bolas himself is probably a good enough payoff. So I'd probably run something like Tasigur or something to like fill up the graveyard more. But I think that might require some amount of switching the deck, because then we're really taxing our graveyard with Logic Knots and Snapcaster Mages and everything else. So I'm guessing I'm supposed to cut like one Logic Knot, maybe pick up some other type of counterspell somewhere along the way, like maybe a main deck Counter Squall or something along those lines. So I really like Logic Knot as a counterspell, but I think if I'm going to switch over to Tasigur as a threat in the deck, that I want some other type of counterspell that's not reliant upon my graveyard to be effective. Because as we saw there, even with just a couple Logic Knots cast that game, our deck was a little bit vulnerable to our graveyard getting thinned out a little bit, and our opponent wasn't even attacking our graveyard. So it was kind of the thing that was going on. Anyways, Space Marine, the deck I was talking about. Are you familiar? I'm sure you're familiar with Elian Tarazi, right? His Crazy Brews. So the deck in question is, this is the latest version of the deck. My friend actually played the he's one of the weirder, wackier brews in Standard. His name hasn't been as big the last couple years, but basically the fundamental thing of the deck revolves around Teferi, Search for Azcanta, and Nexus of Fate. Now, Nexus of Fate is an instant speed taking turns card. If it would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Nexus of Fate and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. So basically what this deck does is it plays your typical blue-white, blue-black control thing for some turns. Gets a Teferi down. Hopefully you flip in as Kanta. And then what it starts doing is it starts using Teferi triggers to float 2 mana on your end step. In response to the trigger, untap the lands, float 5 more mana, and start using Nexus of Fate to plus your Teferi more. And then what you're trying to do is you're trying to get to the point. No, doesn't get exiled. That was a couple of the other taking turns cards in Modern do, but no, this one shuffles back into your library, which this deck abuses. And eventually what you do is you get to the point where in the late game, between activating Search for Azcanta, using Teferi, you literally get to the point where you're like down to 15, 20 cards in library or less, like the control decks often do with that combo, and then start chaining Nexus of Fate. And then once you start chaining Nexus of Fate with an active Teferi, you know the dirtiness that is Teferi. You know, draw your card, exile a card with the emblem, and then just eventually kill them. His original build had a main deck Chromium, but this deck obviously has Torrential Gearhulk to kind of seal the deal. And then you either get to the point where you deck them with Teferi, because you just do the Teferi tuck-away trick, or you literally just cast draw Nexus of Fate every turn, have 7 cards in your hand, discard a Nexus of Fate, and either way you're never going to run out of cards. So deck has a couple different ways to win, but it's basically a control deck that transforms into a taking turns combo deck in the late game. And I'm trying to figure if there's a way to port this particular build into Modern. I watched the first game of the match, but in Modern it might be better as a blue-white Space Marine, but in Standard, it's the reason Ali added the black cards was the better spot removal. No, what happened, sideboard? Did the burn deck end up winning? I didn't actually look up the results. So I know he was up a game going into the second game against Jund. And Jund is definitely a deck that can come back and beat Burn 2 games in a row. But I know the Burn opponent just like blistered through the first 2 rounds. Well, that sucks. But like I said, Jund's a deck that can certainly beat Burn on a pretty consistent basis. But sideboard, are you familiar with the Standard deck that Ollie's been working on for a couple weeks? I think you mentioned you were familiar with it at least, because he keeps updating it every week. Maybe, but Jund is just one of many. Jund is just one of many viable decks in Modern. Like, if you actually looked at, see if I can